Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Midday Market Update on this Thursday, what is it, April 29th,
April 29th.
2021.
A little bit of a drizzly day. We're getting ready for some rain here in the Tennessee Valley.
Yeah, wind's picking up.
Wind's picking up. It feels like it's springtime with those thunderstorms on the way. And we're going to get a forecast from Nick Austin here in a little bit, talking about if we're going to see rain today. But how are you today, Michael Vincent?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Hey, this is our live interactive twice weekly show. So, hey, LinkedIn, what else are we on? Facebook?
Facebook.
So get your comments and questions in there. We'll address them as best we can. I think Kaylee's going to fire up her modem here and dial in.
It up right now. We've got a pretty good show today. We're talking all about cross-border logistics and what it takes moving freight through a pretty busy port down on the Texas-Mexico border.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll hear from Teclo Garcia, the Economic Development Director at Laredo.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk to him. And we've got Matt Silver from Forager talking about technology and cross-border logistics. And also our own Greg Miller talking about maritime and see what's going on there as well. With not a lot of maritime across the border there in Laredo, but obviously a hot topic to see what's going on in there. But I guess first we're going to talk with Stone Cold Nick Austin, right, about the weather?
About that weather. Nick, how much rain are we going to get here in the Tennessee Valley?
Oh, probably not very much. Half inch maybe. I mean, nothing really to write home about.
Man.
Michael Vincent, you're still going to have to get out there and do your yard work.
Yeah.
Not really. It's going to dry out for the weekend. So, but very, very wet. Lots of flash flooding out in parts of the plains in the Mississippi Valley. Pretty major stuff, actually, for the last couple of days. It's kind of been coming in rounds, but portions of eastern Arkansas, or I should say eastern Oklahoma, into northwestern Arkansas, southern Missouri, places like that. Even a few spots in the Ohio River Valley and out in West Tennessee getting some really heavy rain. There's been road closures here and there. People stranded because of high water, just all kinds of problems. Hopefully no truck drivers out there have been getting stranded out there in the rigs. But we'll take a look at the radar right now on the Sonar Critical Events map. You see some of the rain is starting to push further across the Tennessee Valley, parts of the southeast, and even into areas in the northeast it's starting to rain, although it's not too heavy up there yet. But the southern end of the storm, still a lot of heavy rain here across some of those same areas that got hit yesterday. It's been going on almost all day today. I think we have a picture. This is from Bentonville, Arkansas, which is in northwest Arkansas. This was from yesterday. The water was just so high. You see that guy, he's standing, I don't know if he's standing on top of his car or something else that was on the road. I have no idea, but I've seen several of the pictures where the water was so high that cars were either floating, videos where they're floating, and just cars stuck in water everywhere. So that was one of the hardest hit areas across the region yesterday, and they're having more issues there this morning. Some parts of southern Missouri and Branson as well, some areas of eastern Oklahoma. Still a lot of flood warnings happening in those spots from the Weather Service. Flood watches in a lot of those areas as well. So that's going to continue through the rest of today. But as the system moves slowly to the east through the rest of the day, we'll have wet weather across the Tennessee Valley, other areas of the southeast, and the mid-Atlantic and northeast are going to get wet too. But the flooding threat is going to be a lot lower and really, I'd say slim to none as far as this kind of flash flooding in the eastern U.S. when the rain starts to spread across there. So all those areas in orange are in flood watches and warnings here. So still a lot of areas under that risk. So drivers are going to hit ramp closures here and there. Not a lot of problems on interstates necessarily, but once they get off the interstates, those U.S. routes, the local routes, and the state routes, that's where we've been seeing closures, especially in northwest Arkansas and in other spots as well. So this is going to be an issue for the rest of today. It could be some severe thunderstorms as far as winds and hail across some of those areas and into some parts of the southeast too later today and heading into tonight. So we'll keep an eye on that.
So that photo is a prime example of what you should not do when there's water over the roadways. We say turn around, don't drown for a reason, because that's what happens. It only takes about 6 to 8 inches of water to float an SUV, believe it or not.
Wow.
And it takes about a foot of fast moving water to carry away a heavy vehicle. So if you see it, don't do it. Just turn around. Don't go through it.
Yeah, so this guy's not doing a very smart thing is what you're saying.
Not doing a good job.
Okay, I'll remember not to do that next time. Can't believe they caught me on camera. But
fine.
yeah, no, stay safe out there. And,
Stay safe.
and let's. It's a good thing that at least the flash flood warnings. They're not going to. It's not going to head this way and east. So we've dodged another bullet as we do quite a bit here in Freight Alley in Chattanooga.
True that. So we went a
That's
little bit
always
out of
good.
order today. But
We
you
did.
know,
So I understand that this isn't going to be, there's no wind threat with all this stuff. It's
No,
mostly just.
mostly heavy rainfall.
Okay, all right. Because usually when we have this kind of rain and these kind of storms, you also have that wind kind of danger as well.
Right.
But not so much with this one as well.
no, we're just expecting some heavy rainfall. Although I will say there were some pretty bad severe thunderstorms last night across the southern plains.
Oh, yeah.
Nick's going to tell us a little bit about that coming up at the end of the show.
Oh,
but
yeah,
you know who we've got up right now?
Yeah, actually, I do.
You do
want
know.
to tell everybody else?
We've got Andrew Cox who's
All
up here
right.
with some headlines. And, you know, we're getting earnings in from all of these companies reporting their first quarter. And
Yeah.
we brought you some big news on Tuesday about record-setting earnings, and we've got some more today. Andrew, tell us what's going on.
Thanks, Kaylee. Yeah, the first one coming from Echo, Chicago-based brokerage, had their best quarter in history here in the first quarter. Yesterday, after market closed, Echo reported record gross revenues of $800 million. That's up 45% year over year, and adjusted earnings per share of 61 cents per share. That's another record. The disciplined approach taken by Echo's brokers allowed the company to find a way to grow volumes, double digits, even as rates soared, allowing gross margins to only contract slightly. Gross margins fell from 15.3% a year ago to 14.9% right now, which is a relatively insignificant change when accompanied by a 40% increase in truckload volumes, truckload rates rather, and a 13% increase in truckload volume. Echo exploited opportunities in truckload presented by high rates, tight capacity, and uncertain service in the freight markets to grow truckload even faster than its fast-growing LTL division. And Echo's managed transportation business grew even faster than its brokerage, posting a 50% year-over-year growth. Managed now contributes 23% to Echo's overall revenue. Pete Rogers, Echo's chief financial officer, expects the momentum to continue and for second quarter revenues to come in between $830 and $870 million, with that midpoint representing 65% year-over-year growth. The company has also upped its forward year guidance on the top line by 15%, and shareholders are happy. Investors are sending the stock higher today. It's trading up about 8% on the news. Mike?
Yeah, it's pretty significant, Andrew. I would say when you're looking at growth that is this big, especially in brokerage, when you're talking, 40% growth, and they were able to, with the rates soaring so high, many have been struggling with maintaining those margins. But they were able to, it contracted by 0.4%, and that's it. That's pretty significant. When you say, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. Only a 40-point margin decline on a 40% cost of revenue increase is absolutely incredible, and that they were able to grow volumes on top of the higher rates is also something very impressive. Also, obviously, disciplined approach from Echo's brokerage.
A good time to either work with or work for Echo Logistics, it looks like.
I would say so, and I guess the expansion of the managed transportation 50% year over year as well, with 23% is that's highly profitable and a lot more stable, is it not, Andrew, for your margins and your revenue?
It is. It can be in many cases. This is something that's happening in many brokerages across the board. I've spoken to Dennis Anderson, the Chief Customer Officer at ArcBest. He's saying that managed transport is also one of their fastest growing pieces of the business. So this is happening across the board. Many shippers in this tight capacity environment, when capacity is very difficult to source, they're looking towards managed transportation services.
Awesome, Andrew. So we've heard a lot from Lori on the Rocco talking to us about the export war, right? And now we've got some pushback coming to the Department of Transportation. So Andrew, tell us a little bit about that and what they're seeing.
Yeah, the U.S. agriculture industry is pressuring the Department of Transportation for immediate intervention in foreign-owned carriers' denial of U.S. ag exports in favor of sending back empty containers to China to be filled with imports to the U.S. In a letter sent to Secretary Pete Buttigieg on Monday, almost 300 agriculture and forest product companies demanded the Secretary intervene in U.S. exporters, to protect U.S. exporters. This letter is the latest in a series that the agriculture industry has sent as an urgent plea to stop the denial of trade and increase demurrage costs. President Biden and the Federal Maritime Commission have received similar letters. Normally, when shipping containers come to the U.S., imports are unloaded. They're then sent to rural areas filled with agriculture products and then shipped back abroad. And more than 20% of U.S. agriculture products are exported, so it's a significant amount. But with the lucrative freight rates right now paid by import cargo, combined with the congestion and the delays at ports, this is leading carriers to immediately return empties to their overseas port of origin. According to analysis quoted in the letter, the carrier's denial of trade has resulted in approximately $1.5 billion in lost agriculture exports this year. This is in sharp contrast to China, where the full-year trade surplus reached $535 billion, the highest since 2015. Kaylee.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, it's a vicious cycle, is it not? I mean, they're trying to return these containers to get them back because of the amount of export that's coming to the U.S. because the consumer's buying so much, and yet then it's just sitting at anchor, right?
Yeah. Well,
and we're not getting our exports out there. I guess it's the speed to get it over there. They're foregoing the extra revenue to gain more of that high cost. China to West Coast and East Coast, really.
why wait for your container to fill back up if you can just send it back empty and still make money off of it?
Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. Yeah, that's a mess. We'll be talking to Greg Miller about that a little bit later as well, about the maritime trade as well. But Andrew, what's going on with Grubhub here?
Yeah, Grubhub posted Q1 earnings as well. The company generated a 52% increase in revenue in Q1, amounting to $551 million. That beat analyst top-line expectations of $510 million. Their gross merchandise volume, or the total amount of food that was sold on the platform, grew 60% year over year to $2.6 billion. But Grubhub missed on earnings, losing 56 cents per share when analyst expectations were a profit of 1 cent per share. Their active diners on the platform increased nearly 40% to over 33 million, and the daily average grub, so the amount of meals that they deliver on a daily basis, increased 44% year over year. According to Second Measure, Grubhub holds a 17% market share in the food ordering and online delivery marketplace. And in a letter to shareholders, Grubhub attributed the surprising loss to a number of factors, including increased driver costs due to short-term driver supply imbalances, as well as extreme weather, and to a lesser extent, the economic impact payments that have been being made that have kept some drivers off the road or have at least reduced their hours. The company didn't hold an earnings call on this Q1 results because it's in the process of finalizing a big acquisition merger deal with Just Eat Takeaway that was announced towards the end of last year. The deal has been approved by Grubhub's board, but it still needs to go through some other certifications and antitrust deals. And if all goes well, it would create the largest food delivery company outside of China. Mike.
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much for those headlines. You can find all of those on FreightWaves.com. Andrew, let's talk a little bit about your point of sale newsletter. What's going on there?
Yeah, thanks, Kaylee. I've got two stories coming out today at 1 o'clock. The first one is covering the shipping tsunami that is ensuing. I'm sure you're going to hear more about it from Greg Miller here later on in the show, but it is as bad as it's ever been right now at the ports, and it's only going to get worse in the coming months. I gave a couple of suggestions from Nirjas Poskis of Flexport. He gave a few pieces of advice, looking for less than container loads, maybe seeking out non-operating reefer loads, and maybe even thinking about creative alternative routes. If it's all booked from China to the West Coast, maybe look to go through the Panama Canal to Colombia and then back through the Panama Canal to the West Coast. There may be opportunities there. And the second story is about Amazon and Walmart. They are both reigniting their expansion of their services that seek to get inside of Americans' homes. Amazon expanded its key-in garage grocery delivery service from 5 cities to 5,000 overnight yesterday. Basically, all of the areas that Amazon delivers prime groceries to, those are now available for key-in grocery delivery to your garage. Walmart has also expanded its refrigerator drop-off service. They're taking it one step further, dropping off neatly inside of consumers' refrigerators. They expanded that from 3 cities to the home turf in Northwest Arkansas this year. And according to Bloomberg, they're expanding that to Atlanta in July. But 90% of Americans say that they're uncomfortable with the service that Walmart provides, with Walmart workers coming in their home. Even though Walmart is wearing body cams, they are wearing masks, gloves, they're taking a lot of precautions, but it's going to take a long time to win over Americans' trust coming into their home and putting groceries into their refrigerator.
I would be part of that 90%. I don't know if I want the Walmart worker walking in and rooting through my fridge and taking my good pesto.
Yeah,
what if they just take my pesto, you know?
Hey, thank you so much, Andrew, and everybody. Hey, check out the point of sale. It's excellent. I read it on a weekly basis. You should too. You'll know exactly what's going on. You'll get some brilliant insights from Andrew. He really does a great job.
And
I'm with you. I'm in the 90%. You're not coming into my house.
Nah, sorry. If you're not reading Point of Sale, you should at least be watching Point of Sale. That airs every Wednesday on FreightWaves TV. So you can go ahead and do that, and you can listen anywhere that you get your podcasts too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Miss an episode.
Absolutely. Perfect. Shall we check out the freight markets with Zach Strickland?
I guess we will. So
yeah, perfect.
you know, the freight market itself, we've said it in the past a few times, it's been in a little bit of a holding pattern. Tender rejection rates sliding slowly down, again, continuing to kind of asymptotically reach that 25% threshold that we've been, you know, monitoring. 1 out of every 4 loads getting rejected right now. Capacity still extremely tight. However, demand is remaining stable. Like the OTVI itself overlapped with the outbound tender rejection index here. You can see that the you know, the rejection rate kind of falling there, but OTVI is actually kind of growing a little bit. So there's a little bit of a trend. What that tells me is that carriers are simply just being in the right position a little bit more than they were in the past. So markets like Los Angeles, for instance, have come down off of an extremely high rejection rate of about 25% a few weeks ago, have now regressed back under 20%. So that the West Coast, obviously a place that carriers like to get to, a lot of long haul freight, expansive margin opportunities out there. So when they see that destabilization out there on the West Coast, they really flock to it. You know, like we see in produce season, which we are, you know, on the very beginning portion of. And we look at some of these, you know, produce season rates right now, they are starting to climb once again. You know, even though the National Reefer Rejection Index is actually kind of moderating right now, around 44%, moderating at 44%. Again, that's still an extremely high number. If you look out west, places like California, the tender rejection rate out there for reefer loads is climbing steadily throughout the month of April. We look at produce rates coming out of Northern California, and that is also climbing. So looking at the weighted rejection index map, we can see that, you know, softening week over week out of the Los Angeles, Ontario markets in that dark red color out there. But pay attention to the Southeast. So the Atlanta market, one of the largest, actually the largest market, single market in the United States in terms of overall outbound volume, still showing a shade of blue, especially, and then there's also that shade of blue down there around the coast there with Jacksonville and Savannah. You know, imports still a thing right now, and it'll probably continue to be a thing moving forward into the next several months, because we're still not even close to what we would consider maritime peak season. Hopefully Greg Miller later on the show will talk a little bit about that. But yeah, the Southeast starting to really kind of showing the most, I guess, steady increase in rejection rate and volume and signs of destabilization. Los Angeles, West Coast showing this wild roller coaster of capacity.
Yeah, it's wild. You mentioned, you know, it's kind of like it's stabilizing, or you said moderating at 44 for reefer, right? But and dry van at what, 20 at a 25, 1 and 4. You mentioned, you know, carriers being in the right place. Are we getting used to the new normal? And I guess, I mean, I hate to use that term. I hate cliches, but cliches are cliches for a reason. But are we getting used to this and operating in this type of stuff? Is that why we're seeing this? And also, you know, Andrew talked about, and I know you understand this as well, there seems to be more and more growth in managed transportation, right? Is that helping stabilize these tender rejections and getting the carriers in the right places, kind of playing together a little bit better, shipper carriers?
Now, I say they're in the right places, but you know, they're really flocking to the areas that are going to give them the best chance at finding a continued freight at a high margin. And you know, the moderating that's happening right now is really them just flocking to the area in most need with the most opportunity. Los Angeles, seeing rejection rates fall, for instance, they know they're going to be able to get freight out of that market continuously. So once that place destabilizes and they know that spot rates are climbing again, they rush to it. So the aggregate rejection rate is really masking some of those underlying volatility signals, especially when you looked at that weighted rejection index map. You wouldn't know that there was so much percolation underneath all that, what appears to be a relatively stable index right now. You know, contracted rates, I mean, I know managed transportation is really just a way of trying to negotiate or get into long-term agreements, you know, outside of the carrier space. And the contract rates are still not having a great effect on the market. You know, it's kind of like playing the game of whack-a-mole. Carriers will go to a place, knock down a spike in rejections, another place will bubble back up like we're seeing in the Southeast right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, does this kind of set us up for that? I like to use that, you know, that you have the you know, the hyper saturated like atmosphere, and you toss that little piece of energy out there, and boom, you get thunderstorms like crazy, right?
Oh, weather reference. I love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, cloud chambers in physics, right? You remember those, which is very cool. So this kind of sets us up there. We got this high volume. We've got 25% rejection rate. You got 44 in reefer. Everybody's going to the right place right now. So one little twist in the chain, and boom, rates go crazy. And right, I mean, that's what kind of we're sitting on.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. We saw it in middle of February. We had this winter weather event that I think in most years would not have such a significant dramatic effect on spot rates, but we still haven't come down off of that level of rejection.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Zach. Yeah, it's interesting. You have to keep. I feel like I have to keep putting that asterisk next to when we talk about it's moderating and stuff like that, because I mean,
it's moderating, but it's not like normal.
Yeah, no, it is. Seems to be now. We're getting all used to it. But
After a year of this happening, though, shouldn't you you adopt the cliche of the new normal? Though, you should be used to it after an entire year of it happening. But it's still like this is absurdity, but it's consistent absurdity.
It is, and there's difficulties there. You can't get the capacity in there, and even if you could build trucks, you don't have drivers to put into it. So everybody's still set up for this one little shakeup, and boom, it all explodes and goes a little bit crazy, right?
Speaking of exploding and going crazy, should we get a check on the exploding, going crazy, is it happening economy?
Yeah, we
With,
should. I thought you were
Anthony Smith?
describing Anthony Smith, our lead economist.
Economist. I'm describing his feelings of skepticism.
Okay,
Are they exploding
awesome.
or are they going crazy, Anthony?
They are exploding and going crazy, Kaylee. So we got
Nice.
some great news from the economy for the measurement for the first quarter. We saw that GDP increased well over 6%. So that exceeds my expectations of up to mid to high 5%. So we are seeing that growth. I don't think it's too much of a surprise throughout the US, those that have been anticipating this number. We did see, of course, that there was an extremely high increase or contribution to the goods part for that component of the overall GDP for the first round of estimates.
Excellent stuff. That's excellent stuff. So we're looking at things just continuing to grow here. Housing starts were good, and this is. Do we have jobless claims today?
It is Thursday.
It is Thursday.
It
So
is.
we do have those jobless claims that we saw that they also hit a pandemic low. They were a little bit higher than anticipated for those median forecasts. I don't know why people are forecasting jobless claims because that seems like a wild one to forecast, but they did decline. So that's another good sign. So still not as skeptical as I was previously. We are seeing those declines come down steadily, slowly but surely, a long way to go. Far away from those 200,000 pre-pandemic, but certainly moving in the right direction. So good news on both ends.
There you go. People are getting vaccinated. States are opening up. Restrictions are being lifted. People are getting back to work. We love to see it.
So just one last question, quickly, Anthony, is do you see these positive news as things showing to you that as hopefully things start to, I guess, and I'm going to use another, normalize with logistics and people getting back to work and stuff like that, that the economy can sustain a positive momentum, or do you see some sort of pullback or bullwhip happening in the future?
So if you want me to be skeptical, which I think you do.
I do. I want your honest opinion, which would be a skeptical one. If you're very positive, I'm going to call BS on it, my friend. You know
I
that.
will be very, very skeptical on it, and I will give you the truth on it. And so we do have some headwinds, and those concerns come from our insatiable appetite to consume things. And that's going to be the big part of this whole reopening and moving forward thing. The US consumes and is great at consuming. And because of that, we're going to see that there's going to be a lack of a lot of goods that people might be demanding as we continue to keep picking up momentum. Those partners that we have overseas that we usually have a lot of imports coming from may not be ramping up as quite as fast as we are. And so with that, we're going to see some increase in potential consumer prices. Though we are going to be shifting to a lot more a lot more services throughout the upcoming months as we see more and more states reopening. Those goods aspects that people are going to continue to want are going to be in short supply. But we're also going to have a lot more people that are employed and those that are going to be feeling a little bit more confident to buy. So that could lead to a lot more higher prices for those everyday goods that people are looking to acquire. So that's going to be one of the big parts that we might see on the consumer side.
Awesome, Anthony. Thank you so much for your insights as always. And I think that we're ready for our first guest. Should we head over there?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's welcome Teclo Garcia, who is the Economic Development Director in Laredo, down on the border there. And hey, Teclo, welcome to the show, my friend.
So, thank you as always for having me. I really appreciate it. I enjoy watching your show. Good insights. So I'm glad to be here.
I love your office. That's very interesting.
I'm on the road. I'm not at a Love's truck stop, but I'm close.
Hey, there you go.
Excellent, excellent.
That branding. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Give us a little bit of background about yourself and what you do in Laredo real quick.
Well, I'm the economic development director, and in Texas, as and many other states, cities have economic development directors, and my job is to help bring investment and jobs to Laredo, and also to help to expand from within. So, as you know, in Laredo, we're the country's fourth busiest port, and the busiest land port in North America. So that's quite a task we have in our hands.
It is. So I was reading through some of the article that Noah Mahoney wrote, and that's how I reached out to you, because it's very interesting to see the changes of the percentage and the amount of freight that is moving through the port of Laredo and the origin countries for it, right? I thought it was very interesting to see that China is number one, right, out there at like $1.6 billion, I believe it was. The number one import through there was cell phones, followed by textiles and computers. Can you talk about those numbers a little bit? You're there promoting Laredo and utilizing that port. Are we talking Chinese imports coming through Mexico into the United States?
That's correct. Right. Mexico is by far our most dominant trade partner.
Yeah.
It does about 98% of our business. But China, you're correct, over $1 billion in trade, and with China, and it goes both ways. I think, or not just think, we see goods going both ways because of the USMCA and before that NAFTA, where whether it be an auto related industry or something else, where maybe one component is built in the U.S. And then moved to Mexico for finishing, or vice versa. So these products move back and forth across the border to finish automobiles, to finish computers, cell phones, and so we see tremendous movement in both ways. And I think that the industry here, our trade folks are very good at doing both, and so our import situation is excellent, and Mexico continues to move finished goods to the U.S.
So we're talking about moving finished goods. Is there any port congestion, or the port congestion on the West Coast, is it impacting any of the massive trade that you guys are doing through the Port of Laredo?
We're not seeing any direct indication there. However, we've or direct numbers from reports or the like, but we have seen anecdotal cases where we know that goods are being moved to the west coast of Mexico, and maybe through Lázaro Cárdenas or Mazatlan or somewhere else, and then shipped across, to Monterrey for finishing, or maybe even directly into Laredo or other U.S. ports. Mexico has gained some from that on their west coast, and they understand that, and so they're looking to see how they can expand and try to refit their ports to handle even more traffic from China.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was wondering the same thing myself, because, back when we had the longshoreman strikes over there in California a number of years ago, a lot of those imports changed to Vancouver and Mexican ports, and then came up through Laredo and other ports that are along the border there, really
Yes,
changing the dynamics.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
I was
please.
going to say one thing. In 2019, Laredo jumped up to be for a short while, the country's busiest port, right?
Mhm.
Well, when that happened, it was mainly because of the congestion. Our numbers necessarily aren't soaring, but what's happened is sometimes LA gets stuck and they can't move more traffic than they would like, and for whatever reasons, whether it be COVID or whether they don't have enough workers, on their docks, and that's unfortunate for LA, but it does sometimes move our numbers up some, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're growing that fast. What we are seeing is an impact from the UMCA and some nearshoring in the Monterrey area, especially. Of course, everyone knows they're a industrial giant, and we've seen anywhere from the likes of Lego to Mattel and other groups like that, sometimes up to double their manufacturing capacity and employment.
So let's talk about looking into the future. You guys haven't necessarily actively pursued those trade relations with China in the past, but is that something that you guys are planning on doing going forward now, since it has been a fruitful partnership, I guess you would call it?
Yes, no, for sure. We understand the importance of China and France and other countries that are in our top 5 and top 10 trading partners. But we're in the midst of developing our trade plan to be much more strategic and aligned with what is happening in Laredo. So yes, reaching out to China and being strategic with those particular cities that mean the most to Laredo, and also with countries like France and Canada, and especially like the state of Ontario that does a lot of produce shipments through Laredo. We want to be able to understand them better and make sure that they feel welcome here, and we want to look at opportunities to develop more business with them.
That's excellent. So give us the quick elevator pitch for those doing international business. Port of Laredo. I'm in the United States, and I'm dealing with China, whatever. Why am I looking to try and move stuff through Laredo? What's the pitch?
Well, yes. Number one, as some of your colleagues will know, we have the best Mexican food in the U.S.
Well, yeah, Kevin Hill is
Those are
behind the
fighting
camera
words.
right now saying, "Ask him about this restaurant. Ask him about this."
Yeah, Kevin knows. But in all seriousness, look, Laredo has been a logistics center since it was founded in 1755. We're at a prime location. We understand logistics. We understand distribution. That's what we do. We do it well. We handle 18,000 plus trucks a day that cross back and forth across the border. So if you're looking for efficiency, if you're looking for a place to put down roots, if you will, in Texas, and take advantage of nearshoring, along with our partner country, Mexico, Laredo's a spot for you. And we know how to do it, and we know how to do it well.
I've got to say, growing up in southern New Mexico, those are fighting words, saying that you've got the best Mexican food in Laredo. I'm going to let it slide this time. But we'll have to do a taste test at some point in time. Thank you so much for joining us today, Teclo. We're really, really glad to have you here. Can people connect with you on LinkedIn? If they want to send you an email, where should they go?
Yes, for sure. LinkedIn is the best way. Look for me, Teclo Garcia, at LinkedIn. I'll be happy to converse with anyone. But I want to thank you guys for doing what you do every day, and then having me on. It's a real honor to be with you.
Thank you so much, Teclo. And hey, it's nice to see that he pulled over for this interview. He's not driving.
He's driving safe. Driving safe. Good job.
That's right.
Excellent, Teclo. Hey, have a great day, my friend. Watch out for those storms out there if you're anywhere near where northern Texas.
Yes, sir.
Or like that.
Oh yeah.
Safe travels, my friend. Safe travels. Via con Dios, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Right. Hey.
All right.
So, hey, let's talk to Greg Miller and let's talk maritime. Let's find out what's going on there, right?
Hear what's going on in the West Coast ports. Greg, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Always great to be here.
So, Greg,
it's funny. Every time we talk, we talk about how crazy the Trans-Pacific is, and I keep thinking the story is going to end, and it never does.
It's not. It just gets crazier and crazier.
And on What the Truck yesterday, we were talking about this. We were talking about Matson Lines. Who Matson was, talking about, and you know this well. Matson Lines was talking about how, they see it going past peak season even, right? And Dune and I were discussing how it's like they say, okay, it's only going to go till this date, and then we cross that date. Well, maybe this one. Well, maybe this one. Maybe I dare you to cross this line, and maybe. What's going on out there, Greg? What are we doing, man?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much focus right now. When you look at the West Coast, in the beginning of the year, there was about 30 ships each day sitting out there at anchor, and there was all those dramatic pictures, the aerial shots from the Coast Guard, seeing all those ships lined up. And now we got about an average of 20 a day. And so people are thinking, okay, well, maybe this is sort of the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe things are getting better. And what I'm hearing is that's not the case at all, and we shouldn't be so focused on this decrease from 30 to 20. One thing to look at is the Port of Los Angeles has a great product called the Signal, which is a digital platform, and it gives you an update each day, and they show you the average wait time at anchorage before a ship gets to berth. And I looked this morning, and it's still at 6.9 days, and it's been at about a week for a couple months now. As a matter of fact, the 6.9 days is similar to the wait time back when there was 30 ships at anchor. So, it's not as good as people think, and for several reasons.
So are people getting out of line now? I mean, they're sitting in the drive-through window and they're saying, well, I'll just go down the street and go to another port. Is that what's going
Go
through?
through Laredo?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There was a number of services that were diverted out of Los Angeles to Oakland. And then just, I guess, the other week, MSC, or the 2M Alliance, announced that they were actually dropping Los Angeles and going to Tacoma. So there are diversions that are taking place. And so you look at all the anchorages off Los Angeles, Long Beach, part of the reason it's down is because the services are going elsewhere. And if you look at Oakland, I looked at the vessel positioning data yesterday.
Yeah.
There's 20 ships at anchor off Oakland. There's 10 ships at anchor off Vancouver. On the East Coast, for different reasons, just meaning a lot of demand, I still see 10 ships off Savannah, which is down from the top, but it's still high. And I see 10 ships off Virginia now, which I didn't see before. So this whole anchorage issue is still with us.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I've got like 4 charts here from Sonar that I want to throw up here and just go through real quick if you don't mind. I'm a geek like this. This first one here is China to all ports. And you can see on the top there, those are the number of ocean shipments booked up to 7 days out, right? And you can see it increasing, and the blue line is this year. The dotted line below it is last year.
Right.
The one below that are the number of TEUs, right? Because the shipment could be part of a TEU or it could be multiple TEUs. So you're seeing this line increase, the blue line increase, and separating from even last year, right? And the next slide here, if you look at this, that's Los Angeles. So you can see the definite uptick that's going there. Now you see those drop-offs that are at past 7 days out up there. Those typically start to go back up, right? Those are 7 days out. Those will increase. They change daily. The next slide is Houston. Look at this upward slope there. That's going up there, going way up forward, Houston. And the next one is a port that you mentioned that I just pulled up today before the show because we were talking about this. There's Tacoma. Look at that blue line in Tacoma from China.
The separation is huge between last year.
It's huge, and it's going up. This demand for capacity is going crazy, yet I hear blank sailings. Why would huge demand be causing blank sailings? Isn't that when there's nothing to do, they put them at anchor so they don't lose money?
Yeah, traditionally blank sailings occur when the carriers want to lower their capacity in line with lower demand. So, for example, you'll always see them during Chinese New Year. And then last year, we saw an extreme level of them in the second quarter when we had the lockdowns here in the United States. So there was a lot of blank sailings then because demand suddenly dropped. But I did an interview with Nereus Parskus, who's vice president of Global Ocean at Flexport earlier this week. And he had some stats on blank sailings. We're in week 17 now. So for week 16 to 18, about 20% of the sailings to the West Coast have been blanked. And you ask yourself, why would that happen? The reason it's happening is not because there's less demand, there's more demand. The reason it's happening is because the carriers don't have ships. So if the ships get stuck here or get out of kilter in their schedules, they can't get back in time. They're so late that they can't load, so they have to cancel the sailing. So going back to LA Long Beach and this favorable reduction in the anchorages, one of the reasons is the diversions, as we said, but another of the reasons is that the sailings have been blank. So of course, that anchorage number is going to go down a bit. But this is never going to get solved until we solve the demand issue. And I think that's the next important thing to talk about is demand, because it's all about demand. It's not slowing down. Flexport gave me some stats. They looked at this year versus 2019 because 2020 numbers were so skewed by COVID. So January of this year versus 2019, 10% increase in imports to the Trans-Pacific. February, 13.5. March, 51%.
Oh my God.
Huge number. And I looked at my own numbers. I looked at Los Angeles, Long Beach imports and looked at March of this year versus March of 2019, and I see 65%. So you're talking about a 1.5% increase in import volumes. And if you look at the retail sales for March versus March last year, it's up about 25%. But whatever the retail sales number you do, it's nowhere close to the import increases. And the reason is restocking. We are so far behind on the shelves. The government has these stats in retail inventory to sales ratio. It's historically low. The last one was February, 1.23 ratio. That compares to 2 years ago. It's 18% lower. And I went back all the way to the 90s. It's nowhere close to where it is now. So we're so far behind that this is what's fueling the import demand. And if you think about it, we're just a few months away from the peak season, from July to October, back to school, fall fashion, and then Christmas. So where does it end? This was supposed to be the more moderate period, and this restocking is going to bring us right to peak.
No relief in sight. Greg, really, really quickly, let's talk a little bit about the impact on rates. Are you just having to shell out this money and be like, I got to get my freight here, so I'm going to have to pay this insane amount of cash? Or are people holding out and expecting things to fall off a little bit with really just like no hope in sight?
Yeah, and mix that with a little bit of advice of what we should do with those rates.
Yeah, I mean, so the rates, I looked at Freightos yesterday, China to West Coast, 4,800, East Coast, 6,200. And as Flexport was telling me that's just part of it. You have to pay 2,000 or 3,000 premium on top of that to get loaded. And those premiums came down a bit earlier in the year, but now they're back. Because of what happened in the Suez Canal, all those containers can't get back to Asia. So you got those premiums again. The contract season, which is just wrapping up now, it depends on who you talk to, but we're talking 50 to 100% increases on the annual contracts.
Wow.
So a huge amount of money, and it's not just the amount you pay. When I was talking to Flexport, they were saying that in May you can't get on pretty much at the last minute for any price. It's sold out completely. So you're talking about June, and then again we have peak season after that. So it's just an incredible situation for the importers, and it's hard to see a scenario where this is going to let up this year.
Yeah.
So if I'm a shipper, BCO, or whatever, I mean, I can't really just hold off on signing a contract, right? Because then I don't have any capacity.
Yeah, you have no choice but to sign the contract at the higher rates. We'll be in the spot market, which will be even higher.
Yeah,
give us some money.
Yeah, and remember, those contracts also have peak season surcharges on them.
Sure, they do.
So it's not that, and you're going to get hit with those as well.
Yeah.
And the peak season surcharge is going to bring the contract rates closer to the spot rate. So
you really can't.
As far as advice though, the advice that I was given was don't wait. Just be creative, do whatever you can. If you need to go to British Columbia and then take rail down to Chicago and then truck from New York, there's people that are actually going from Asia through the canal to the Cartagena and then transshipping back and then going back through the canal to Los Angeles. Another idea is LCL. Yeah. You can't do this at scale, but you can still do LCL, so you can break down some cargoes into LCL. And then the other thing would be non-operating reefers. There's a lot of refrigerated exports from the U.S. to China, food and so forth, and those reefers come back as non-operating reefers, and you can carry dry cargo in there. Shippers don't like them, but that may be your own option. And prepare for empty shelves. Prepare for not getting what you want at Christmas.
Wow. Yep. Let's pool our money and buy a ship.
Might as well if you're going to spend that money somewhere.
Right on.
If you want to catch up with Greg, get more of his good insights, make sure that you are keeping an eye out for him on FreightWaves.com.
Oh, yeah, excellent
Always
stuff.
good stuff coming out. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
One of these days we're going to call him and just go, there's nothing going on. It's boring.
I don't know when that's going to happen.
I don't know that it's going to happen.
Give me a date, and then we'll cross that date out, and then we'll write another date down, and then we'll cross it out.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly right.
It's like looking into a crystal ball, and you can't tell the future.
Yeah, you really can't.
We really try.
I know a guy who tries very hard. Our next guest, Matt Silver, who's CEO and founder of Forager Logistics, now joins us talking about tech and cross-border and what they're doing there at Forager to bring the transparency and some technology to that sector of logistics. Matt, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. You're in Chicago today?
Yes. And we've had, in the last week alone, we've had snow, 80-degree weather, and I think right now it's like 45. So,
Tell me you live in the
and
Midwest without telling me you live in the
It's
Midwest.
spring. It's springtime in Chicago. It's awesome.
I could use a Portillo's hot dog right now.
I'm okay with it. Hey.
there's a Portillo's probably 5 minutes from my house now. So,
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah. So you're riding your Peloton and stuff like that in between sandwiches, right?
yeah.
Matt, give us a little bit of info about Forager and then kind of what you guys are doing for cross-border logistics.
Sure. So we're a freight tech company that simplifies cross-border shipping, ultimately. We help a lot of companies, large and small, with their full truckload shipping between the US, Mexico, and Canada. We built a portal for shippers to be able to get quotes online, book loads online. They can track everything. It takes, I think I timed it once, 68 seconds from a quote to a book for a shipper. And then carriers can log into a load board and either book those loads instantly, bid on them, post capacity, along with storing rates online. So they could say, I need a load every single day from Monterey to Dallas, and I'll do it for $1,800. And they can store that in the system. And then anytime we get a new opportunity for them, they get that opportunity put in front of them.
Yeah, I'm jumping out of order here a little bit because we're we're tight a little bit out of time, and I really want to get into this because you talked about how tech kind of stopped at the border, and that I guess is the premise for Forager. You saw that opportunity there, and you saw the vision to really bring this there. You started out a number of years ago. I mean, a couple of years ago with Scout, which was the solutions really for providing. The pricing and the bookings, et cetera. But now you recently and I mean the last couple months, brought out the load board. Can you talk how those two are bringing that transition a little bit and how it's going with the new load board that you brought out?
Yeah. So, and to clarify, so Scout itself is the technology that is our entire business. So it's a TMS that we built internally that manages cross-border freight better than any other TMS that exists because the rest of them don't actually do cross-border well. The second part of it is that there's a shipper portal sitting on top of it, so the marketplace component of it with the load board on the other side. So our goal is to bring every single party into the same system and streamline that entire process so that all the data is in one place. It's a single source of truth ultimately for any cross-border shipment.
Excellent. So give us cross-border 101, the difficulties. Because you spoke about that in the article recently. I guess it was with J.P. Hempstead, I believe it was.
Yep.
Yeah. So talk about that complexity because a lot of people listening, they do some cross-border stuff, but they really don't understand what's going on there. And this could be really, really helpful and insightful for what you guys are doing there.
That's the reason we exist, is because most people don't understand what's going on with it. So there are, when you're shipping a domestic load, let's say you're picking up a load for a beverage shipper in Chattanooga, and you're going to deliver it to Dallas a day and a half or 2 days later. Pretty simple. Getting somebody to go pick up that load and deliver it, whether it's an owner-operator or a large fleet with a backhaul, you'll be able to do that very easily. And everybody from CH and Coyote to Uber Freight and Convoy can nail that. When it comes to cross-border, you have a pickup and a delivery facility, and that's about the only similarities. You have a U.S. carrier, a Mexican carrier, a border transfer carrier, a transload facility, and 2 customs brokers. And so all in all, there are 8 different parties involved in one cross-border shipment versus the pickup, delivery, and a driver for a domestic shipment. And so the transaction component of our business is table stakes. The visibility into where the truck is table stakes for us. It's all that stuff at the border, and kind of simplifying that entire process and integrating all those parties is where we built our moat.
Yeah, so throw a ship in there, a couple gantry cranes and some longshoremen, and you can ship to China, right? Pretty much.
If you're shipping ocean, I guess, yeah. But everything ground, yeah. It's like a relay race with a baton that you have to hand off 3 different times.
Yeah, it's incredibly complicated.
So complicated.
So what are you seeing in the cross-border travel? You got tremendous insight of what's going there. I mean, that is your specialty there. You guys are the expert, and I encourage people to check this thing out because it can save you a lot of heartache. There's no doubt about it. But so what are you seeing in the trends there? We had Teclo Garcia on, the economic development director in Laredo, talking about China and the changes, and they're going after other countries as well to bring them in there. What are you seeing on the cross-border? What are the trends you're seeing?
So the two big trends right now are, well, it's 2.5 or 3. One is the manufacturing move. It's nearshoring, but it's also, there's another part of it. So one is nearshoring because everybody over the last year dealt with delays from anywhere in Asia, including China, obviously. Delays in production, delays in shipping. Then when you actually get to Long Beach and the container has to sit out at sea for another month. So it goes from anywhere from 25 to 60 days to get your product from China to the US. Then when you want to move that and all of a sudden you have to bring that product from Mexico going up to the US, it takes 4 or 5 days. And so companies are starting to move their plants to Mexico and nearshoring that way. Plus the USMCA made it is more encouraging of doing something like that. So it made it easier anyways. Then you have the communication from Biden around the semiconductor chips and looking at how they manufacture that and doing that in North America instead of overseas. And add that on top of what I talked about with Noe actually yesterday, which is that there's a shortage, which everybody knows about already and has heard about it. All the automotive companies are having a halt right now. And so because that freight is slowing down for automotive going into Mexico, there's this volume that just disappeared that was going southbound. So rates are skyrocketing coming out of Mexico right now. And you hear Knight Swift announce their rate increase the other day. It's kind of creating this little storm for shipping out of Mexico. And so you've got everybody building in Mexico, plus you've got the shortages and the further imbalance. And so that's why it's 2.5 or 3. Sorry for the.
I wrote that down. 2.5 trends. I think that was actually.
It's all political related to the USMCA, the concerns around China and Biden with the semiconductor, plus the shortages.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think that was 3.15 trends, actually. I don't think that was 2.5.
It's fine.
I think you went over.
I can quote you what it costs to move a load from Monterey to Kansas City in my head, but when it comes to adding up the simple stuff is what it gets really challenging.
I get it. I have the exact opposite problem.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us today. If people want to learn more about Forager, maybe take advantage of that service that you offer, where should they go?
ForagerSCS.com, or just reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter if you want to see me and Craig fighting over the best place to build a tech company, a freight company.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah, Chicago or Chattanooga.
We're a little biased. We're hometown heroes here.
Yeah.
Well, now everybody's talking about Nashville, I guess. So we'll see.
Okay.
It's closer to us.
Awesome.
That's fine. Thanks, Matt. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Have a great day.
Good stuff there.
I don't know how I would be able to survive if I was only 5 minutes from a Portillo's.
You would have to put a lot of work in on that Peloton.
Yeah, I would definitely have to do that. So you were telling me about some crazy stuff that went on in like Norman, Oklahoma
some
last
wild
night.
weather.
Do you have information on that?
Yeah, so everybody knows I'm a Sooner. I went to OU in Norman, got plenty of friends that are still living back there too, and they actually saw some pretty intense hail yesterday. Same thing from Texas up basically the entire I-35 corridor.
Yeah.
San Antonio, Fort Worth, and Norman all saw storms that brought between $2 and $3 billion worth of damage estimated.
Wow.
So those are some photos right there. These come from my good friend Andrew Lyons. He's on Twitter at TwisterKidMedia. He works for the Storm Prediction Center, and he just bought a house in Norman, sent me these photos and said, well, looks like I'm getting a new roof.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane.
Insane, right, Nick? Are those storms coming anywhere towards us here in East Tennessee? What are drivers looking out for here in the next few days?
They're not heading towards us. His new house got damaged by the storms.
Yep.
That's terrible.
Yep.
No, we're not going to really see anything like that here in the Tennessee Valley. Some of the rain from all those storms is spreading our way, and it's heading towards the northeast, but I don't think those areas are going to see any severe weather as far as large hail and tornadoes and all that stuff, which is good. But I do want to mention that a pocket of the Northeast tomorrow is going to be seeing some really strong winds. So let's go to that. Sonar Critical Events will show you where. This includes the Philadelphia metro area, other parts of the I-95 corridor with high wind watches up here. We could see wind gusts developing tomorrow in these areas of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Just coming right across I-81 and I-95, those crosswinds are going to be pretty brutal at times. This includes the Elizabeth Freight Market, which Michael Vincent can attest to. is usually a very busy freight market.
Oh, yeah.
Usually lots of high outbound volumes there. So there could be a lot of drivers maybe heading there to pick up loads. So this is going to be a problem area. It doesn't include New York City right now. It's mostly in New Jersey, the Philadelphia metro area, also the Allentown and Harrisburg markets right here. So we'll have to watch out for that. So winds are going to be a big issue there. And also, that's going to be for Friday. And I want to mention, too, there's, on a totally different topic, but there's an article up on the website now about how the U.S. Coast Guard has been helping some small islands in the Western Pacific that got hit by a very strong early season typhoon back around, I think it was on the 18th of this month. And they've been helping deliver food and water and other supplies to these little islands. I think the country is called Palau, and it's part of the Micronesia region out in the Western Pacific. So U.S. Coast Guard helping out with those folks. These little islands don't get hit by typhoons very often, but this one was really strong, one of the strongest as far as a pre-May typhoon. So they're out there helping out. Check that out on FreightWaves.com. Other weather updates on FreightWaves.com, of course, on tv.freightwaves.com. My Twitter handle is @FreightWeather, so there's always weather updates on there too. I think we hit them all there.
There you go. You know, we're
Nick.
coming up on May.
Yeah.
Already starting to think about hurricane season. I'm still reeling from last year's hurricane season, so hopefully it's not going to be that bad.
Yeah. When the year I left, we got hit by 5. The year I left South Florida, we spent it felt like the entire year either preparing for or cleaning up after a storm. Why does typhoon sound so much worse than hurricane to me?
I think it's just a scary name. I don't really know.
Yeah, it is scary. It is scary. But yeah, so great show today. You know, yesterday, where can you find all these shows? FreightWaves.com.
FreightWaves.com, of course.
FreightWaves.com or wherever you can download your own, podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcasts
Spotify,
from.
Apple Podcasts.
Spotify, Apple Pie.
Go rate, review,
Apple Pie.
subscribe.
Apple Piecast is where you can get them.
Just created a new platform. But tell me about yesterday's What the Truck.
It was great. We had so tomorrow we've got drone waves, right, which is going to be tremendous. And you can, and obviously registration is free. Get in there. We've got we're giving away. What are we giving away tomorrow? We're giving away a drone tomorrow. So yeah, those are fun too. We were just out here playing. Well, not playing, but doing some video.
But so the drone that we're giving away isn't a drone that can fly on Mars.
It isn't, but that's what we were watching yesterday.
Yeah.
Extraterrestrial zone. So talking to, these guys, Joshua Ravich at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a mechanical engineer, lead Mars Ingenuity helicopter. I don't know if you've seen this thing flying on Mars, but we talked to him yesterday. What a cool job to have, right?
What a cool job title.
Yeah.
Mars Ingenuity helicopter.
Yeah, right.
That title with my name.
Yeah, and Craig Nickel, who is NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center Low Boom Flight Demonstrator Project Manager. They have the best titles on the planet. So they're creating a low boom or a jet that will fly, past the speed of sound, Mach 1 plus, but not create a sonic boom.
Which is so cool.
Which is very cool.
So if you're really into hearing about that, go check out yesterday's What the Truck. If you're really into drones, come tomorrow because we're talking more about extraterrestrial drones. We've got underwater drones. We've got talking about drones and prepping the urban environment for the future. Drones everywhere.
Yeah, you've got an interview tomorrow as well.
I've got a couple on there. Yeah. We've got
the Kaylee Nix show tomorrow.
It is not the Kaylee Nix show, but we've got a replay of the first episode of my show At Your Doorstep.
Oh, cool. Yeah, which is a great show.
Where we talked to Ryan Walsh from Valkyrie about their drone receptacles.
Yeah, like a mailbox type of thing that opens. Yeah, we had him on once before. That's very, very interesting stuff.
And talking about how they tested it on a golf course.
Oh yeah, delivering food and stuff like that. Yeah, also, and Dooner and I, What the Truck tomorrow as well. We'll be talking with the Drone Racing League.
Yep.
Which will be very, very cool.
You think that you can fly a drone well? You cannot until you've seen these people. They're amazing.
Oh yeah, the drone. You ever watch it on TV?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you know what, guys, if that's not enough, we've got FreightWaves Live at Home coming up, and of course F3 coming up. Make sure that you're registering. Get in, watch Drone Waves tomorrow, and we'll see ya.